And so finally, the people said, okay, then you don't get to eat. We're cutting your food down to 1 dish a day. That still didn't work, so then they cut their food down to just bread and water. That's all they got.
Man, they were imprisoned. I didn't know they cut down the food. I didn't remember that. That's insane.
Surely that worked. Except no. Well, by June 1270, a whole year and a half after this thing began, Cardinal John of Toledo made a comment, supposedly in jest, that they couldn't make a decision because they were locked inside, and so the Holy Spirit couldn't get to them. Not sure that's how it works, but he couldn't get to them.
Yeah, I mean, what does that mean? The Holy Spirit can't go through a roof? Man, that doesn't sounds a little blasphemous, in fact, saying that, but whatever. I understand he needed a reason. You know, I get it. If it was me, rather than saying something factually wrong as a man of church about the Holy Spirit, I would have said, guys, I'll just change my freaking vote at that point. I'd be like, guys, we're going to starve in here. I'm sick of it. Let's just change vote. Who do you want? You want that guy? Okay, I can't stand him. I'll vote for him. Because at that point, I think that's what I would have done if it was a cardinal in there.
And so they had to be either let out of conclave or have the roof torn off of the palace. So now the cardinals are sequestered, they're not eating very well, and they are out in the elements pretty much all of the time. So surely now they had to come to a compromise and make a decision, right?
Right.
No, it still took quite a bit longer. It wasn't until September of 1271, almost 3 years after the last pope had died.
3 years, guys. Last conclave took 2 days. I think it took 2 days because they already had spoken about it for the better part of a year. That's just my opinion. I can't prove it. 2 days, though, versus 3 years.
That they finally agreed that they couldn't make a decision. So instead, they had 6 of their own get together to form a subcommittee, and they would make the decision.
Right.
And still, they could
not. Man, at that point, you know what I would do if I was one of the cardinals at that point? You know what, guys? Let's take the 6 or the 3 people that have got the highest votes, put them in the box, make a prayer, God lead my hand, take one at random, that's the Pope. That's what I would do at that point, right? Because that's not working, clearly. And the reason, by the way, it's so difficult is because it's not a simple majority in the conclave. It's a 2/3 majority, which is much harder to achieve. A simple majority means 51% wins over 49%, but 2/3 is a much higher number of votes that need to converge. That's why conclave usually takes so long.
Not decide which of them was going to be the next pope.
Yeah.
So finally, they all decided to elect someone who wasn't even there, who wasn't even a cardinal. His name was Teobaldo Visconti. He wasn't even ordained.
Teobaldo, that's the first thing he missed the pronunciation, but I probably missed my pronunciation in English 15 times during this live stream, so not a big deal, but it is Teobaldo Visconti.
And on top of that, he was off in the Holy Land on the 9th Crusade with the future King Edward I of England.
Man, what a plot twist. No, he said he wasn't ordained as cardinal. I imagine he was clergy, though, I would think. But anyways, I'm not watching the whole thing. If you do want to watch the whole history and whatnot, of course, I'd recommend to check the original videos. I always do with these. I just want to see, what is he going to say? Is he going to like the ribs or not? That's what we want to know.
And here we are. The pork back ribs served to the cardinals during the conclave of 1549.
Let's go.
I just love the look of a rack of ribs. Ribs are one of my favorite foods.
Really?
Give them a try here.
Yeah, give it a try. Let's go. Yeah? Cardinal approved?
Perfection.
Well, that explains why they stayed in there for so long. Although then again, they got underfed.
Messy, but perfection.
Right.
Let's get this big piece here. 1 second.
Yeah, go. Please take your time, Max. No problem. No problem.
The flavor is just it's wonderful because you get a little bit of the garlic and the onion, but neither of them are overpowering. And you get that far more interesting flavor of the mostokoto and...
That's true, yeah. I wish the onions were a little charred.